from the Garden Hose. My name is Obi. I'm here, of course, with my buddy Ed, and we talk about what it's like to be a cranky old man in training, remembering the good old days. Ed, how are you?
I'm doing great, Obi. A little cranky, some news from the CDC today that, I'm not the happiest camper, but I thought COVID was over, but it's not. But that's a topic for another show. So I definitely practicing my crankiness today for sure. But all things else are good.
I'm sure. And for those of you who like our cranky but can't remember where to find us, you can download us just about any place to get a podcast, including Apple and Spotify. And of course, we do send out the link. So come on, listen, leave a comment, give us ratings. The more ratings we have, the easier it is to find us. If I'm not mistaken, we have listener input that's driving our topic today. Is that right?
Yeah, Obi, and as you said, leave us comments. Tell us what you want to tell us what you're cranky about, because I'm sure we have the same feelings. And so, yeah, one of our listeners, Dave, he contacted us and said, what you guys should talk about, because I know it's right up your alley, is Whiteclaw. And I felt like saying, please explain to me what Whiteclaw is. But unfortunately, I know all too well what Whiteclaw is.
Whiteclaw is, for those of you who are listening and really honestly don't know, it's seltzer with booze, malt seltzer. I've personally never had one, but that's because I can't drink carbonated beverages anymore, or else I'm sure I would have been sucked in at least once to try one, because every party you go to now, there's somebody drinking one of these Whiteclaws or Trulies, or even Budweiser has one now.
Bud Light seltzer, Corona seltzer, Coors Light seltzer. Yeah, so listen, if we want to talk about art, back in the day, right, there was Zima, right? So I'm sure people know what Zima is. Zima was it was a malt liquor, but it wasn't like Colt 45. So I was always really confused by that, because we had Billy D. Williams on TV talking about come over to the cool side, whatever the hell he said, but it was always about Colt 45. And that looked and tasted like beer, bad tasting beer. But then Zima comes out and it says malt beverage, which is basically what Colt 45 says, but it was clear and tasted nothing like beer. And that was, you were talking before, and that was short-lived, right? About a summer.
That was the hottest thing that summer. And it was great because you could play, you could play almost every drinking game you were playing. Like if someone was drink a beer, have a Zima instead. You weren't killing yourself by doing it. But it was pretty sweet. It was supposedly lemon lime, and like you and I just agreed upon. It was a summer long phenomenon. Don't even think it made it into September, but it was something. And you drank them, and then fortunately we stopped forcing ourselves to drink them and went back to Natty Light.
So my fascination with the man card started right about when Zimas came out, I think, because I always viewed it as people drinking Zimas were those that just weren't man enough to drink a beer, right? They didn't want to have the beer face, because, Zimas came out, or, clearly it was before things were legal. Let's just put it that way, right? And so I to this day, I've never had a Zima, and I've never had a Whiteclaw, but I think they're similar in the fact that, I'm just going to say it, I'm a cranky old man. I judge people that drink that stuff. Unless you're a female, I'm judging you.
So you're right. They are similar, and you're right. I was not quite allowed to be drinking, and yeah, sometimes whatever beer was bought was it was cheap beer, and it was disgusting, and it was like this disgusting cheap beer, or this disgusting sweet drink, and I was like, I'll have the disgusting sweet drink. But after that summer was over, I'm sure I picked another one up because I had fond memories of them. So I'm not going to be like I never had one again. But yeah, it was the drink. It replaced kind of, but not as successfully, wine coolers. But wine coolers went their own way for their own reasons. But now you have these new ones, and it's a whole seltzer craze. It's funny. It's cranky old man. We should like seltzer. I think of seltzer like my grandma had seltzer bottles, old-fashioned squeeze. That should be something as old men were behind is seltzer, but No, I'm just not buying it.
Yeah, so I get the allure. So, I was going down this road that it's kind of like Zima, but I think the big difference is Zima's here and gone. There was never a Bud Light Zima. There was never a Coors Light Zima. But there's actually Bud Light Seltzer. I mean, when a major beer brand decides we need to sell seltzer to keep up with the Joneses, that shows you that White Claw is making an inroads. And I think it goes back to, Obi, what you were talking about was cheap, bad tasting beer, right? So think about when you're younger. I think, obviously people drink for really, I'll say it now as a mature adult with kids for the wrong reason, right? You don't drink because you like the taste. You drink because this is how we're going to have fun tonight. And so I think young people today see this seltzer, and you're right. Seltzer tastes good, right? So why not? If I'm gonna go through the trouble of having to ingest something to feel good, I might as well enjoy it. So I see that's why. I just can't get into it.
Yeah, I'm 100% behind you. And there are, look, maybe it has to do with a few things. Like I think you get to purchase at states that have separate beer stores from liquor stores. It's at the beer store, because you can get these new bottles of, I know Knob Creek makes them, other bourbon companies make them, vodka companies make them, where they take their vodka and they make the mixed drink that you're going to go and get that is a little easier to drink on the taste and make it easy to buy. But maybe those are only at liquor stores in states that are split, because really that seems like a better choice to me if I just want to get drunk than seltzer, which of course fills you up. I mean, I understand why adults drink it, because it is, I'm imagining it tastes more refreshing. And so you're just having one or two and you're just out there in a warm summer day. I can imagine wanting to drink seltzer, because I know people want to drink seltzer and soda. But boy, versus cheap beer, I'm not sure how I would fare today if I was stuck with cheap beer or seltzer drink.
So Obi, I got a little bone to pick with you on that, because you're making a lot of assumptions. Like, you're talking about refreshing seltzer. First of all, any young person who's drinking cheap beer, they're not drinking during the day. Like, so that's another thing, day drinking, right? Day drinking is this thing that young kids think is like the coolest thing ever because they never do it. What they don't realize is all I ever do is day drink now, because I'm too old to stay up late. Like, sun goes down, I'm going to bed. So if I'm going to drink, it's day drinking. So if you're not day drinking, what do you need? It's not like you're mowing the lawn.
Right. And
you need a refreshment. And the second piece about that is I just don't get why people, the man card thing. So let me give you a story on this one. 2 years ago, I was introduced to White Claw. I was at Yankee Stadium. I was outside the Yankee Stadium. I was at Billy's Bar getting ready for the game, and I was meeting some friends there. So I was by myself. I got there early. And these three young guys come in with their girlfriends. So there's a pack of 6 of them, right? And I almost died laughing right in front of them, because the one guy walks in and he's so excited. He goes, "I got the first round, 6 White Claws, right?" And then he was so excited. He walked up to the bar, like, he's like, 6 White Claws, right? I don't know. I can't see how any self-respecting man says I'm going to get a White Claw before a Yankee game.
So now, my introduction to White Claw is a little different than yours, because my introduction to White Claw was at my quarterly poker game, and you're right, it's a man card thing, because none of the men were drinking it. It was really mostly I'm trying to think if any of the men were. It was only the person I imagine drinking are these 3 women who were at the game. By the way, 2 of them are really good poker players, but apparently they have bad taste in drinks because they were drinking White Claw. But I was asking them about it because I was not going to drink it. And yeah, they said it was refreshing. So I was thinking, like, it's got to be a little of both, right? It's got to be kids are picking up on it because they don't want beer, because beer is bitter, until all of a sudden you start enjoying bitter beer, and you're like, wait, when did that transformation happen? That's how one of the ways you know you're a cranky old man is when you enjoy your beer for real, and you're just Like I'll just have one because I like the taste of the beer. And yeah, the other group is I think day drinking adults, but who want that refreshing but don't like the beer. So I think it's a lot of, I'm guessing it's people who thought that beer was disgusting and never got over that, but either went to hard alcohol or shishi foo drinks, and they're like, oh, this is not going to knock me out, but drink some wine instead.
Yeah, I think you might be onto something there, right? So the adults that are drinking now, again, women that's on a different level, right? They're not drinking beer anyway to begin with. They never put the work in back when they were younger to get the acquired taste. So I get it. Whether they're drinking White Claw or wine or those mixed drinks that you were talking about, that's fine. I think, the reason why this was such a great topic when, Dave brought it to us was the whole man card thing. And I hate to make fun of a listener, but he readily threw out that he loves a White Claw, right? And that's what made it such a great topic, because I don't know how a man can admit to me that he loves a White Claw.
Yeah, especially that, that is true. I think we agree on that main concept here, is that we're being a little sexist about it, but still, like, especially for people in our generation, whether we're right or wrong, a lot of women, they didn't want to drink beer for whatever reason. They didn't like it. They didn't want to put in the work, whatever it was. I mean, not probably 50-50 in reality, but that group of women who didn't drink it, they found wine coolers, and then they found Zima, and then they found something else, and then they got to hard alcohol drinks, Sex on the Beach, whatever. And then now they're like, oh, look, this nice refreshing White Claw. So it's that is the one group. And look at you, that's exactly those women. Oh,
well, you got me cracking up over here on Sex on the Beach, because just as much as I'll judge a man who's drinking White Claw, don't tell me you don't judge a middle-aged woman that goes into a bar and orders Sex on the Beach. I mean, that's one of the funniest things you'll hear. Like, a woman thinks maybe she's a cougar, but she goes, I'll have sex on the beach. I just think it's hilarious.
Okay, well, I guess we're never going to a restaurant together, because that's my wife's drink of choice.
Oh, boy, did I just
goes out there.
I just stuck my foot in it, didn't I?
Yeah, that's all right. Literally, just as she started listening to, what are you doing right now? Oh, I'm recording the podcast. Oh, great, yeah. So, but no.
So right. Should we tell everybody this is our last podcast? You're not going to be allowed to come out and play with me anymore?
No, I think we're okay, because the thing is, even when she orders it, like, she'll be ordering it with the kids, and she still has that this is kind of ridiculous that this is the drink I'm ordering. I'll take a Sex on the Beach.
All right, as long as she knows it's ridiculous and can laugh at herself, I'll give her a pass.
Yeah. She's constantly looking for something that she likes more, because it's just funny to, it's a dumb name for a drink to be ordering, because it is. It's like the mind erasers we used to drink in college. It's just a dumb name for a drink, let alone whether it's good or not.
Yeah. The other one is if you run into somebody that orders a Tom Collins, that's another one you kind of scratch your head and laugh a little bit.
Yeah. I just started running into people who like the old fashioned.
Well, that's because they watch Mad Men. I mean,
is that what that comes from?
Oh yeah.
Okay, it's just like people are starting to order old fashions all the time. I'm like, really? I don't.
I want to talk about old fashioned. That's a show set in the 50s, right? So
yeah,
they bring back a popular drink from the 50s, and it becomes popular in 2000, teens, right? Because Mad Men's been out. Yeah. So that's why there was a run on old fashions.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you for clearing that up in my mind, because I'm still drinking most of my whiskey straight, maybe neat with a little bit of splash of water, not this whole added sweetness to my whiskey.
So I think we've determined if a middle-aged or a cougarish type woman orders a Sex on the Beach in a bar, I should stop judging them, because your podcast partner's wife could be doing that the very next time you're out with them. So we learned that. We learned that if you drink a White Claw and you're a female, it's acceptable from the drinking from the Garden Host group. But we also know that if you're a male and you're over the age of 22, probably have to hand in your man card, right?
Let's not put an age on that, because the reason I'm not going to put an age on that is my brother was a guy who did not start drinking like just refused till he was almost 27, 28. Basically till he got married and had children. Now he drinks. So,
No, that's usually when it starts to get heavy, at least.
that's right. So, it's the sign that you didn't go to enough parties and put in the work so that, you can enjoy an IPA or a brown beer or something that has some flavor to it that's still got a little bite to it. You didn't put in the work. I don't know if you need to hand in your man card so much as you, to whichever person we're talking about, you haven't put in the work to enjoy beer. And you just have to decide personally if that's an acceptable thing for you to have done, is not put in that work.
I think you're letting people off the hook, but that's okay.
I am. I'm letting them off the hook. I'm asking the judge themselves. Did you not put in the work to drink beer? Why not? You decide.
Okay. So you're not as quick as I am to take people's man cards. I think I'm a little more judgmental. That's okay.
Yeah. So before we get to whatever else we're going to go to, I just got to show you this. This is what my kid came back with today. He went out with a bunch of his friends, went to the candy store, and yes, candy cigarettes still exist. That's just what that is.
So you just ruined like an upcoming whatever happened to segment by showing me candy cigarettes.
Yeah, well, what I wanted to do is instead of when we talked about it, I just wanted to put the kibosh on that now. Candy cigarettes still exist. Apparently, they also now have moved up and put right next to the candy cigarettes the candy joints. So,
and now that that's legal in most states, I guess 5-year-olds can walk around like they're smoking a joint, right?
Apparently.
Listen,
yeah.
I just want everybody to know when I used to have candy cigarettes when I was a kid, I did it because they tasted great.
When my son brought these home, I said, I don't know what's worth. These are actual real cigarettes because these will lead to diabetes. And he looked at me and he said, and they taste disgusting, and threw them out and let me keep the box for this. So
I think because they were pure sugar is why I love them so much.
He's a candy kid, so the fact that he didn't like them was kind of surprising. He said
he didn't like them.
No, I said they tasted like chalk.
Well, I could see. Well, they look like chalk. You could definitely write on them as school chalkboard. That's for sure. Those things.
Absolutely can.
Though maybe how sometimes when you see it on TV when people buy drugs, they try to buy some pot and they get oregano. Maybe he tried to buy candy cigarettes and got a box of chalk.
Completely plausible.
Your son just got ripped off by the candy cigarette dealer.
Paid a full 49 cents for that. Got chalk. Actually, 49 cents for chalk. I better get that out of the trash.
Yeah, exactly. Deal. That's a good deal. So Obi, I think we took Whiteclaw as far as we can. The bottom line is you shouldn't drink it. You should try to drink beer, put the work in. If you need help, come talk to us. We'll help you out. But what else do you want to rant about back in the day?
Well, if we're going to go with back in the day, just reading a book, and this guy was talking about when he was in baseball practice in college, they used to ride in the back of the back beds of trucks. And, yeah, that was a dumb thing, but we used to do it all the time. And I don't mean just like sometimes. You couldn't go like a week without seeing somebody riding in the back bed of a truck. So, whatever happened to that stupid idea? Because it was fun.
So, Obi, I used to ride. My parents didn't have a pickup truck, but my buddy's dad did, and he had one of those covers, plastic covers over the back, and I mean it was a 2-seater. So anytime I was with my buddy, we couldn't fit in the front. We rode in the back all of the time, and sometimes there's 4 of us back there. No seatbelt, no seats, and that was normal, and nobody thought anything of it. And then when I got married, this is no joke. My wife tells me this grand story. My wife's, unfortunately, my wife's father passed away when she was 12, and her mom then remarried a couple years later. And the first family bonding experience they had as a new Brady Bunch family was they went on this road trip, and they had a pickup truck, and her stepfather installed these seats in the back of the pickup truck. So on this trip, it was her mom and her stepdad in the cab. Her mother was her sister. They basically got to deal with them, so he put them in the pickup truck. But he put seats in, and they faced backwards. So as they're driving down the road, they looked at everyone behind them. So again, I think that was just maybe stepdad's way of saying, let's have a single marriage here with no kids, childless marriage.
Let's be empty nesters real quick. Let's get this show on the road.
Yeah. So I think it's really interesting that you brought up the candy cigarettes before, because what I'm wondering and want to talk about back in the day, and a lot of people might not know this, but back in the day, high schools had smoking lounges. I mean, I don't want to say that high schools encouraged smoking, but they certainly didn't make it hard. And in some cases, they probably did encourage it, because if that's where the cool kids were hanging out, you would probably hang out there too and smoke a cigarette, or maybe if the hot girl was out there. So, Obi, did your high school have a smoking lounge?
We did not have an indoor smoking lounge, but we did have a place outdoor where both students and teachers mingled together while smoking cigarettes. So there was at one entrance, there was definitely students and teachers mingling, smoking cigarettes, and while the people who didn't smoke were in another place. Absolutely had a smoking section, not a smoking lounge.
Well, when I use smoking lounge, and I don't want people to think this was inside the school, because I don't want to make the school look any worse than they already do for promoting smoking. It was outside. It was outside the cafeteria. So during lunch, you could quickly scarf down your frozen pizza, and you could run outside and smoke a cigarette. And the teachers were out there too. So think about this. When we were growing up, and I'm sure it was the same for you, but at least when I was growing up, teachers had nothing to do with kids. They were in the classroom, and that was it. You didn't like them because they yelled at you all the time. Yet then all of a sudden they would be outside smoking with you.
Yes, it was a strange phenomenon. One of the reasons that I did not go to the smoking lounge was because they would be like, talk to Mr. So-and-so while you're talking. I don't want to deal with that. Plus, somehow the teachers, it was a weird situation where students weren't supposed to be there, but they were there. It was like, I don't remember the details clearly. And if somebody who's watching remembers how we used to actually work that out, leave a comment like we always ask, because it was a weird situation. Yeah, for sure.
So back in the day, we had smoking lounges. So with that, and I'd love to know who else had smoking lounges. And I bet you every school in America had smoking lounges. Nobody were ahead of the curve. I mean, cigarettes used to be healthy for you, right? 4 out of 5 doctors recommended menthols or something like that, right? So, but here's the thing. Going back to our original theme for tonight of Whiteclaw, I want to know whatever happened to ice beer and dry beer. So there was Bud Ice, there was Bud Dry, Michelob Ice, Molson Ice, there was Ice House, there was Red Dog, which was a dry beer. You go to a bar, all you could ever get on tap was ice beer or dry beer, and ice filtered or dry filtered. What the hell? I don't even think the beer companies can explain to us today what the hell ice beer and dry beer was. And if it was so good, how come it's not around anymore?
I agree. Natty, even Natty Light had a Natty Ice. Like every year.
And that was the preferable one. You would get kegs of Natty Ice, not Natty Light.
That's right. It was just, and I agree. I mean, I know what ice wine is, and I know what makes it ice wine. I have no idea what makes it. It was ice filtered, or I don't know. And
I think they froze it. I think they froze the beer, and then picked out this particle. What the hell they do? They froze it, and then what they do? Melt it, and it was better.
Took out some of the water, so you up the alcohol, but you couldn't up it that much. I mean, Molson was still like the highest ABV back in the day before microbreweries came around. So I don't know where it went, but that was interesting because we talked about this a little off air. So you mentioned how everybody jumped on the seltzer bandwagon, but in those days it was like Michelob was like the test beer. So first it'd be Michelob Ice, and if they took off, then Budweiser, Miller, and Coors would all jump on it, or Dry, and then same thing. But now they don't even know what the test beers are anymore, and they're certainly not going ice and dry.
That was, and I got it. That was a college type experiment. It had to be 3 or 4 years, and I'm just not sure whatever happened to those.
Yeah, they went the way of the dodo.
The dodo.
Yeah. Well, the other thing that we were drinking at that time, or people around us were drinking, I should say, was
You don't
wine
say we,
coolers.
because I know where you're going with this. Don't say we.
People around us, not you, and actually not me for the most part. We're drinking wine cooler after wine cooler after wine cooler after wine cooler, and there was two brands. They were Seagram's and Bartles and James. Well, Seagram's is still around. They make everything, but whatever happened to Bartles and James? Where did they go? They had the best commercials, and they're gone now. As far as I know, I haven't seen Bartles and James, let alone a wine cooler, in I don't know how long.
So Obi, I think the easy answer is those two guys in the commercials died. They're like 90 years old to begin with in the commercials, and they're always in that rocking chair. So the easy answer is they died, the brand died with them. But I think the better answer is wine coolers just weren't good.
They were, but they still exist in some fashions. I can't. There's certain bottle. Arbor Mist is really just a wine cooler. It still exists. So there's still some wine coolers around, just not sold in a 6-pack to share among a 4-pack. Remember wine coolers in 4-packs?
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. I'm not positive, and I'm not going to fight to figure that out.
They were 4-pack, and they had like foil wrappers. Listen, I've seen many a wine cooler in my life, but Obi, to your point about wine coolers still being around somewhat, Mad Dog 2020 is still around. So everything's kind of still around. Doesn't mean it's good. Boone's Farm is still around. Doesn't mean it's good, right? So my point still stands on wine coolers. They're not good. They never were. They just got a couple old guys to sit on a rocking horse or a rocking swing or something on a porch and say some quips, and everyone's like, "Oh, we got to drink that stuff."
And it worked.
It did. It did.
You know what I'm thinking? I am thinking just, and maybe just before we sign off, maybe a listener can look and research this. But I wonder if the downfall of wine coolers was the fact that hard liquor started advertising on TV again. And once the hard liquor started to advertise, you could advertise the hard liquor and you could turn it into something sweet and yummy instead of having to drink a wine cooler. So you get your vodka, and of course you add all the orange juice, grapefruit juice, and everything else you can to it. And then it's better than a wine cooler. It's a little stronger than a wine cooler. And it's probably cheaper than a wine cooler. And they could promote those drinks, and they stopped promoting the wine coolers. I'm just throwing that out there. Somebody, come on, leave a comment for us. Let us know about what happened to Bartles and James and ice beer and dry beer, because I'm sure that all the research is out there. You can answer those questions for us.
But better yet, Obi, I want to know anybody who admits to drinking wine coolers, Bartles and James, and explains to us why that was far superior to Whiteclaw. Because I'm sure, think about it. If you were drinking Bartles and James, you're about our age now, probably feel the same way about Whiteclaw. So I want to know why Bartles and James was superior to Whiteclaw. And I also want to hear who else was out there drinking dry beer and ice beer. I mean, there's got to be a few people out there.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it was like you said, the Natty Dry was more preferred over Natty Ice. I think even Beast had a dry beer. I'm not positive, but I think Milwaukee's Beast had an ice or a dry. Like the cheap beers, you could get them that way. They were those.
I'll tell you what, Mickey's Big Mouth never had a nice beer, though. I know that for a fact.
Mickey's Big Mouth did not have a nice beer.
And I'm not sure Olympia did either. That was $2 a 6-pack, Olympia.
Genesea did.
The cream ale, Jenny Cream Ale, right? And by the way, you can still get Jenny Cream Ale. So we can't complain about that, but.
Well, I know. I did not put that. That was always a very regional beer closer to in the upstate New York, right where you're from area. But
and then before we end, I'll just say one other thing. This whole conversation where we're going to drinking today, it's also how we're raised, and I'll never forget my growing up. My dad used to drink Pabst Blue Ribbon, which, by the way, how that is a hipster beer and people are paying premium prices for that is beyond me because of the story I'm about to tell you. My dad used to drink Pabst Blue Ribbon all the time, and then I think he got a raise at work, and then he switched to Budweiser. Which, again, thinking back on it, he probably should have done better with his raise. But he goes from Pabst Blue Ribbon to Budweiser. So anyway, in college with the guys, trying to get some beer. And, you know, of course, your choices are always limited because of the amount of money in your pocket, right? You don't have a lot of money. So you're always at the Natty Ice, the Milwaukee's Best, Olympia, Mickey's Big Mouth. Well, apparently we had enough money and Pabst Blue Ribbon was there. And I told my buddies, I'm like, oh, we got to get Pabst Blue Ribbon. I think that's like a premium beer because my dad used to drink that. I mean, he used to drink that all the time. That's a good beer. We got to get that. So we got a case of the Pabst Blue Ribbon over Peels. I mean, I could go on and on. We got back to the fraternity house, and that beer was awful. That beer was so bad. And I said to my dad the next time I saw him, I said, Dad, you used to drink that Pabst all the time. So me and the buddies got it because I thought it was good. He goes, God, no, that sucked. He goes, why do you think when I got the raise, I started drinking Budweiser?
Yeah, I don't get the Pabst Blue Ribbon rebound either. Like, I remember the first time I saw, not like the first time I saw somebody with money at a nice place order a Pabst. I was like, what are you doing? He's like, oh, it's great. It's amazing. I'm like, what are you talking about? That's Pabst Blue Ribbon.
That's just the case of people with money don't make you smart. I mean, you're just an idiot if you're spending money on Pabst Blue Ribbon.
Yeah. There's no need to buy that. There's a cheap beer that your Keystone's better than that.
Yeah, I think Keystone might cost more though.
Oh, okay.
Not at a bar today though, because Pabst Blue Ribbon, like
That's
it's crazy. The beers I'm ordering, like the craft beers, Pabst is like kind of like right below that.
Yeah, I know it. Yeah, that's what I mean. Like it somehow has cemented itself above the traditional American Miller, Bud, and Coors as like you get them happy hour $2 and Pabst $3. You're like, when did that happen? How did Pabst get above Budweiser and Coors and Miller?
I think people fall for that blue ribbon, which I think Pabst gave to themselves, right? I think they just put a blue ribbon on their beer, changed the name from Pabst to Pabst Blue Ribbon. Hey, we won an award. It's all about subliminal marketing, I think, Obi.
Pabst Blue Ribbon.
We should do stupid theme songs for another episode.
Oh, that'd be great. Stupid theme songs. Absolutely. Go put
all right, Obi.
Doc.
You gonna wrap us up here, Obi?
I am. I'm gonna say thank you for your time tonight, Ed. As always, thank you all for listening. Like we said earlier, you can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, pretty much anywhere you can find a podcast. Download us. Make sure you leave comments, like us, rate us. We'd like to know how we're doing. You know, we will shout you out if you inspire us for sure. And don't forget, charm is that